Hello all, Rick here again with another video on a world of Star Trek lore, Andor. That rhymes, unless it's Andoria. Either way, after doing a video on Riser, I thought about doing a couple of other worlds to examine. As with the previous one, this is not a video on the Andorians themselves. I've already got an index video for that, even if it is an old one, but a video on their frozen home planet. First off, there is a bit of confusion in the lore as to whether or not the Andorian homeworld is called Andor or Andoria, as it has been addressed as both at different times. This is where apocryphal and extra-canonical content comes to the rescue and is kind of supported by what we see on screen. I'll be referring to it as Andoria for this video, and I'll explain why as we go. Andoria is located near the heart of Federation space and one of the many core worlds in the Vulcan sector, which is also home to Vulcan, obviously. This sector is more commonly known as Sector 005 and one of the closest to Earth. Within Sector 005 we have the Andoria star system and its local planets, somewhere around 11 light years from Sol. The system's binary stars were also known as Procyon A and B. This is based on the real Procyon star system, seen as part of the Canis Minor constellation, which consists of a white main sequence F-type star and a smaller white dwarf. Around it circled at least 5 planets, one of which was a large blue-ringed gas giant, which is quite some distance from its suns. This is the gas giant Andor, around which are 4 moons, one of which is Andoria. Although it could be the other way around, or not matter, as we've seen people refer to the moon as both before. The moon, Andoria, has a diameter of 10,084 kilometres, which makes it only slightly smaller than Earth. It's hard to get a sense of exact scale when looking at images set in space because the distances are insane, but the gas giant looks to be on par with or larger than Jupiter at least. Andoria itself is technically an M-class planet, in that it has many of the qualifiers for life to exist: liquid water, natural edible flora and fauna, and an oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere and so on, but it's just barely habitable, and even then most humanoid life would fare rather poorly living in its Arctic conditions. The planet's surface is frequently encased in ice and snow, although it does have liquid oceans and most of its land masses are centred on the equator. Its gravity was 1g, like Earth, and it had a day length of 32 hours. In summer, its temperature rose to around 0 degrees Celsius on the surface, although in colder reaches it plummeted to -28. A heat wave was anything above 0. I don't have any evidence to support this, but I think the relative warmth of Andoria in a system with such small stars and being so far away may in fact be down to tidal heating. This is when a large celestial body such as the gas giant exerts its gravity on a satellite to such an extent that the planetoid in question actually shifts, just as the oceans of Earth shift with the moon's influence, only it would be magnified to an extent that causes the mantle of the planetoid to become molten and remain heated, even at great distance from the sources of energy like a star. We observe this in our own system with Jupiter's own Io. Either way, the planet remains geologically active, with liquid water and oxygen in the atmosphere, so naturally it made a passable home for humanoid life. Several different species evolved here, the Andorians and the Aenar, an offshoot species with telepathy. The Andorians are far more suited for their cold climate than many others of the galaxy, but even they cannot survive on the surface of Andoria for too long in deep winter. As such, they established the majority of their cities in underground caverns, carving out the rock and ice to form large interconnected highways. Modern Andorians still had relics of their clan-like past and heritage, and their capital city, Lycan, was founded as a neutral ground and peacemaking site for these ancient Andorians. Thalassar, the last, was the final monarch of the Andorian Empire in the 19th century before she reconstructed the government into a more democratic one, then deliberately died with no heirs so that they could not be used in any political games, thereby ending the monarchy's line with her. Other cities include Charil, a mining city, Laibok, a one-time capital of the planet, Lawton, the largest city, which functioned as a powerful commerce and business hub, and Harbour Town, which was the oldest continually inhabited city on the planet, originating from a series of surface fishing towns. Navigating the caves of Andor can be incredibly dangerous in unmapped or poorly maintained areas. However, it is still safer than braving an Arctic storm or blizzard. Such chilling winds can bring with them torrents of snow, obscuring everything and burying the surface with blankets of white while stripping away warmth in minutes. Early travelling, before they were a spacefaring species, was accomplished via the sea, although all Andorian vessels were by necessity icebreakers, and the name of the first that circumnavigated their world was the Kumari. In terms of life forms, the planet is host to many a hardy creature naturally evolved to deal with the tundra and ice. The ice boars are worms that can produce a mucus from their skin that burns, allowing them to stay warm and, as the name suggests, bore through ice. In fact, there were a myriad of creepy crawlies, a scientific term, as well as arachnids and slugs. One of the other more famous life forms is the ice spider, or Glickamar, which had several types that dwelt in caves or forests, and naturally they were as large as dinner plates. Other insectoid things included the grulth, the rock slug, and stinging centipedes. Other creatures were the red bat, an edible flying mammal native to Andorian caves, as well as numerous animals involved in agriculture like bulls and zabathu. I imagine in cases like the red bat and bull, these creatures are simply named as such by humans who compared them with the closest Earth native creatures, and that the Andorians have their own names for them. The zabathu was used as a mount by Andorians, but we don't get a description of one. Alongside the many cave-dwelling creatures, there were those who delved into the icy oceans and other bodies of water, such as the Prishava, which was an amphibian with monkey-like proportions, and those who braved the surface covered in thick fur, like the Makra, Hybor, and Alicorn. Andoria is one of the few homeworlds in Trek that is actually a moon, and for this reason alone, I kinda love it. The environment is one that is pretty much lethal to those not evolved there, or at least prepared for it, and in winter the polar regions are literally uninhabitable, unless you have science fiction technology available, I guess. With life being so tough on Andoria, I can imagine that there were no small number of Andorian colonies out there where living on the surface was not restricted to the equatorial regions, and a summer actually brought their temperature above zero for a time. Judging by the fact that we see plenty of Andorians in Starfleet, we know that they were quite comfortable in temperatures that far outstripped their native environment, but with their added antifreeze like blood, they had a wide range of biomes to choose from. The population of Andoria has fluctuated wildly with time too, or with different sources I guess, with around 1 billion in the 23rd century before dipping to under that in the 24th, and then doubling again to 1.8 billion in 2385, with 4 million Aenar. The only reason for this sudden boom that I can think of is that a bunch of Andorians returned home for some reason, which does coincide with the Mars Utopia Planitia attacks and the decision to withdraw many a far-flung Federation asset, although that came in after the source material for these numbers was written, so it's just a convenient coincidence. Nevertheless, Andoria's frigid landscape is a beautiful one, complete with auroras, but one entirely suited only to the Andorians. Thanks for watching this video on the moon of Andor. Andoria! Bollocks. Thanks for watching this video on the planet where Shran lived. There you go. Until the next one, I've been Rick, and it's been nice to see you. Nothing? Man, that's cold. I'll see myself out.